Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. I want to talk to you today about how we are at war and the battlefield is being set. It's being prepared. And the people are being prepared for that. Now, I know many of you are going to say you are sensationalizing this. Stick with me and maybe you'll understand. And when I talk about the battlefield, I'm not necessarily talking about tanks and planes and ships and all that kind of stuff. Just wanted to put out the word for any of you local folks that our next monthly meeting is this coming weekend, this Sunday. If you can make it, please do. Should be a very good one. Got some interesting topics planned. So this Sunday, the 19th, is the next meeting. And I wanted to answer a question I've been getting a lot here lately, and I suspect it's because of some new viewers, because I've covered this in the past, so I wanted to just go ahead and get it out of the way before I get started. People are asking, why are you wearing all that military gear sometimes? Are you trying to look like a G.I. Joe? You're trying to look like you're tough? And well, there's a couple of reasons. Number one, when I do these walks, I wear it for the extra weight. Do these 5-mile little rucks through the woods here, and I got to where doing it just on my own wasn't really getting my heart rate up to where I wanted it. And if your heart rate's not getting up when you're walking, then you're not really doing much good. So I throw a 40-pound pack, and with a backpack you can add stuff to it, add some bottled waters when you want to add more weight. And then I threw this on too, just to kind of put my body under a little bit more strain while doing it. So that's the reason for that. I also wear this chest rig, and sometimes the plate carrier, and sometimes the whole rifle and everything around the home on a fairly regular basis because it's training. And I advocate this because there may come a time where you have to actually use this stuff. And even if you've done it in the past because of your job, if you haven't done it in a while, you kind of forget to how to move around with the stuff on. It kind of gets in the way, especially if you've got a rifle on a sling over your shoulder. And so I advocate moving around your home and your property on a fairly regular basis so that you're comfortable with it, you know how to use it and move with it, and it's not as awkward, because there may come a day where you have to wear it on a fairly regular basis to provide and ensure security on your property, because things have just gotten that bad. And if you think it's silly, well, that's your opinion. Everybody's got one. So I firmly believe that we are at war. And I'm not just talking about this nation against another nation or multiple nations. That too. But I'm saying that there is a grand war brewing, and we are part of it. Some of you have already acknowledged that. Some of you have already said, yeah, this country, the World War III has already started. I know that. A lot of you have said that. It's already started. No one's just really admitting it yet, but it's already started. I mean, we're taking out $10-15 billion pieces of infrastructure of another country, sending lots and lots of, arms and resources so that they are used directly in a war. They're sending spy objects over our space. We're shooting things down. It's a war, folks. It may not be the pinnacle point of the war, but there's a war going on. I believe that a lot of this chaos, this confusion, this order out of chaos that we are seeing, I believe it's also preparing the battlefield, preparing you and I, preparing just the psyche of the people for what is to come. And it's being done on purpose. I'd been thinking about this for a while. If you've watched the last couple of days, I've talked about the chaos, confusion, all that kind of stuff, just about in every video. And then I watched another YouTuber, and it just kind of confirmed what I was thinking. Mike Glover, some of you know who that is. And he put out a video yesterday talking very much along the same lines. And he's someone that would have definitely more knowledge than I would on this subject because of his past career. And I think that you and I need to be aware of this, need to be aware of the things that are going on, the chaos, the confusion. This is all playing into a grand plan of preparing the battlefield, preparing the people for what they're planning. Let me try to explain that as best as I can with my hillbilly mind. While we don't know for sure, a lot of the things that we're seeing play out around us over the past year or so, there's been a lot of speculation that it's not just accidental. You know, damage to our supply chain, food production facilities and factories burning, farming, eggplant, factories, or not factories, but farms, chicken farms where they raise eggs. Now we're seeing the trains and all that kind of stuff. Could it be accidental? I mean, those things do happen on a pretty regular basis. So are they being orchestrated to make them look like accidents so that they disturb everything? Or are they truly accidents? And the media and the social media, definitely, that is controlled in part by anyone from the communist Chinese to the left-leaning segments of our society, the billionaires and stuff, that they're just playing up these things. That could be it. It could be that these are just unfortunate accidents that do happen, but we've got to hone in on them and sensationalize them and get people's emotional and to react to that. They got to get people to emotionally react to these things and to cause fear. Either way, I believe it's being done for a purpose. We are seeing destruction to the supply chain. This all fits with what many of you believe has happened with the whole that it was released on purpose to weaken us, to cause chaos. And this is what I'm talking about. The battlefield is being prepped. And some of you probably are going to ask a really good question. Well, is it being prepped by the communist Chinese? Because some of you believe that. Or is it being prepped by aspects of our own government that's hell-bent on watching our downfall? Some of you believe that also. My opinion is the answer is yes. I think it's both. I don't think it's too big of a surprise for most of you that there's a lot of evidence to indicate that parts of our government, parts of the current leadership, are probably very complicit with China's agenda, maybe even being paid for and bought off. And so either answer is probably the correct one. Don't you always hate those kind of tests? Well, either answer could have been the right answer. Well, you should have told me that ahead of time. Anyways, it's being prepared because they want the chaos, they want the confusion, they want the weakness that it brings. It brings weakness to our supply chain. It brings weakness to our personal health. It brings weakness to our mental stability. It brings weakness to us as a nation, as a people, because we're so fragmented. There's so much division. There's so much fighting. And so, of course, we can see the results of that. COINTEL programs like TikTok, and I firmly believe that's what it is. Look what it's done. There's a lot of evidence and a lot of... I just heard a growl. Anyways, a lot of evidence, and a lot of experts believe that programs, especially like TikTok and maybe a few others, software and social media, whatever you want to call it, are being done specifically to cause all of these ridiculous ideas being spread amongst people. I think it's pretty safe to say the whole trans movement wouldn't be anything like it is today if it wasn't for social media platforms like TikTok, which is very much controlled by China. So the point again is that we're watching the battlefield being prepared. We're watching the chessboard being set up because the plan is at some point to take us down. Does that mean an invasion, an EMP, financial collapse? Who knows? Who knows? Any one of them. Again, all could be the right answer. I believe that all of this that we're seeing, it's not just that it's chaotic. It's not just that it's causing confusion. It's that it's strong indicators of what they are doing. Strong indicators of the game plan. Most Americans just don't see it. They just see it as a lot of things that are just happening. And it's weird. It's just such a rough time that we're living in, that all of these bad things seem to be happening at once. It's just an unfortunate time to live, is what most people consider. I think it's because it's all being done on purpose to weaken us, to prepare us, so that as things happen, we're going to be so fragmented. There's going to be people that believe this and say that's fake, and others say no, it's this and that's fake. We won't be able to come together to defend ourselves, whether it is an invasion or it is something else. We won't be able to keep it together so that our systems, our society doesn't collapse and fall, because we're all worn out. Emotionally, we're worn out. This adrenal fatigue is setting in because it's something all the time. That's why you're seeing, at least it's very possible, along with chemicals and other things being put into the system. But that's why we're seeing so much just fighting, just crazy behavior, absolute insanity. And the recording and sharing of all that, I believe, is also part of the agenda. Show it, make the world look crazy, make people look unstable, and it spreads. It spreads like a virus. Could be completely wrong on this, but I do believe that that is what we're seeing. We're seeing this chaos and confusion being spread for a purpose, which is what I keep saying, this order out of chaos. They will eventually present order out of all of this chaos, this Hegelian dialect. Create the problem, offer the solution. It all fits, right? And some of you may say that China and the current administration are in cahoots. Some of you say not. I don't know that it matters anymore at this point. The point is that we have an incompetent leadership across the board. And whether they're purposely doing it or just that they're incompetent, they're weakening us and showing that how weak we are to the world. While there's a nation that, by all standards, probably isn't strong enough to take us on, isn't big enough to really hurt us right now. But they smell blood. They smell the blood. You know, it's like a big buffalo, water buffalo out in Africa. One of those things, you know, is not, there's no danger of a healthy one being taken down by a pack of hyenas. It's not going to happen. It could stomp them hyenas into the ground. But when they get injured or when they get sick, they start to weaken. The hyenas, they smell it. They smell that blood. They smell that weakness, and they move in on it. You don't ever see predatory animals like that in the wild, taking down the strongest, of the herd. It's ridiculous. They know that there's too high of a risk of them being injured as a pack animals. They're very smart. They sit and they watch and they look for the sick ones, the weak ones, the ones that are trailing behind. And that's who they go after, because they know they're not strong enough to take on the head of the pack, the head of the herd. This is the same thing that's happening right now. If we were a strong, robust nation, if we were what we once were, even though we weren't always necessarily the righteous good guys, but we were still the strong guys, we were still the big boys on the block, you wouldn't see nations like China and Russia and Iran and North Korea trying to test our weaknesses. So it's because of that this is happening. And I think it's all orchestrated. If you watch anything from the World Economic Forum, I believe that China is kind of one of the leaders of that. It was just weeks ago that Klaus Schwab was in China being interviewed by their media, and he was praising China on its reaction to all of this health crisis and stuff. And he said that China should be a blueprint for most nations, that they should look to how China has handled things and should pattern their policies after China. Yeah, China is, and has said for years, wants to become the new leader of the world. And we're watching that play out before our eyes. We're watching the battlefield being developed and built. We're watching, in another way of saying it, we're watching Americans be tenderized by this chaos and confusion that's happening. So I guess my suggestion is, it's kind of the same thing I've said for the last few days, is don't let it get to you. Certainly, it's wise to take notice of it, to pin that little data point off to the side. Helps you get a better idea of how fast things are going and to what point we are at. But don't let it bring you down. Don't let it cause chaos and confusion in your life. Only let it energize you, motivate you to become better and do better, to become more organized, more fit, more trained, more stocked up, more prayed up. That's what these events that are happening around us should encourage you to do, because war is upon us. It's happening. It's happening. It's a slower war. It's transitioning from a cold war to a warm one, but it's slow at this point. But make no mistake, this stuff is happening, and this is what nations have done for years. The video I talked about at the beginning of this, Mike Glover, he was talking about his experiences in special forces in other countries and other theaters. And he said, we did the same kind of stuff. I've talked to other people. I have a personal friend that was, he did all the things that can't be spoken about. And he's told me stories. He said, this is exactly the kind of stuff we did in Iraq and Libya to destabilize it. This is what we're seeing happen right before our eyes in our own nation. And so many people can't see it because they're so focused on this or that. And they're allowing their emotions to take control. We have to be in control. We have to be thinking clearly, and we have to be focusing on the goal of mental, physical, and spiritual preparedness, folks. Because there is a great agenda here to bring us down. And you need to be ready for that. It's time to get your houses in order, to prepare mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video.